You know when you've been recording for like 20 minutes and you now realize that it wasn't recording the whole time? That's where we're at. So what I was saying was I've got my 54 palettes here and it is covering my desk. And there really is a variety. And from each brand, they're scattered throughout the list. I can have something that's number 2 and number 52 from the same brand because it really just comes down to color story and personal preference for the most part because I buy my own palettes. So I'm not going to buy something I don't really like. So it's just a fair warning. And even number 54 is still a beautiful palette, 53, 52, whatever. It's just, for me, they don't work as well. They might work really well for somebody else. So let's begin with number 54 again. And this is a brand I absolutely love. Some of the others in the series are scattered higher up, but this one I knew from the minute I tried it on, this would be number 54 on the list this year. And it's because it's not made for my skin tone. And I get that. I'm just a completist and I want every quad that this company comes out with. But this, I'm not even sure that this quad would show up on like Powder Albino from the 90s. It is so light. And it is the Peony quad from Prada. As you can see, I really love Prada quads. The quality in here is really beautiful, but who is calling me? But it's so difficult to get this to show up. Like, let me show you on the back of my hand. Incredibly challenging to get it to show up. Again, if you have a lighter skin tone than me, it might really work for you. And the others that Prada put out this year worked for me much better. But this one just didn't work for my coloration. At number 53 is a brand that I have scattered all throughout because they put out about 8 or 10 palettes this year. But this one is repetitive, and it's the Golden Lust palette from YSL. Now the packaging on here is beautiful, don't get me wrong, but YSL does these golden colored palettes every holiday season. And although this one has a beautiful topper that has some pink and purple kind of sparkles in it, the other 3 colors that are in here are already sort of existing in the YSL line or something very close. And this particular one here doesn't give a ton of depth. So for me, there were just other YSL offerings this year that I liked more, but I can understand that this would be a beautiful gift. I think that's the reason why they do these at the holidays, is so that you can gift them and they're going to work on a wide variety of skin tones. And so I think that that's why these are so popular. I know this is included in like their advent calendar and some sets. It'd be a great gift. It's just, for me, less dramatic and less impactful than some of the other YSL quads. And we certainly had plenty of them this year. Now, number 52 is a palette that hurts me because I really like the makeup designer behind this. And I really like a lot that the brand puts out. They put out fantastic holiday palettes later on, but their normal everyday sort of all throughout the rest of the year palettes are a different formula. And this one, as talented as the makeup artist is and as friendly as the color story would be to a lot of skin tones, it just doesn't work for me. And it's the Cafe Crush palette from Lancome. It's a really pretty color story. But I don't know why the Lisa Eldridge palettes that come out at the holidays have all different textures and formulas and suspended glitters. They're really beautiful. And then for the rest of the year, Lancome comes out with these that are very powdery. Even though this is a beautiful color story and I think it will work on a lot of people, it's very powdery and very fallouty. I had so much fallout with this. I know some other people have said that they had that too, but I also know a lot of people who really loved this. And I know that it's in that big Lancome gift set that comes out. So I think it'd be a great gift because it would work with a lot of skin tones. You just want to make sure to dust off your brush. Beautiful makeup artist, fun packaging, just didn't work for me. Okay, let's see. Number 51. This one pains me because normally this brand's larger palettes are always high up on my list, like top 15 or something. This year, this brand has struggled when it's come to eyeshadows. It's done really well with some other products like base, but it has struggled with eyeshadows for me. And so that is number 51, the Natasha Denona Soft Sculpt Texture and Tone Palette. Do we need this, is the question. If you don't have any Natasha Denona, would this be a good palette? Sure. But if you have Natasha Denona, you have these colors over and over and over again. And there's only 3 metallics in here. And I struggled with these 3 metallics to even get them to stick. They were a little challenging to get to stick because they've been reformulated. I think it would be great for like a makeup artist. But for somebody who collects Natasha Denona, it's just so monochromatic. And that's really a way the brand's been going lately. And I miss the fun in Natasha Denona palettes. There are some beautiful colors in here. It's just, for me, as somebody who has every MIDI that she's ever really put out, I have these colors over and over and over again. At number, what are we at? 50. This is gonna be hard. I have the Moondust 2025 quad from Urban Decay. Now they come out with a quad like this every holiday season, or they have the last few years. And this one really is great. The Space Cowboy Moondusty shades are always so popular. And this one's really beautiful. The reason it's holding back, and it's not its fault, because it is what it's supposed to be, but I have to go to another palette to get a matte or something like that. And pinky purple color stories, there's just been so many of them that this holds this back. But do I think for somebody who doesn't have any of the Moondust shadows, this would be a great thing to get because you can use them individually as toppers? Yeah, I think this is really great. It's just, for me, it's not as exciting. In the Asian markets, they got a blue one this year that looked really beautiful. But this one, for me, it's a great topper palette, but that's all it is. Let's see. At number 49 is one that was a little surprising to me because, again, I have these scattered all throughout my list. I love them all. It really comes down, again, to color story. But it is the Victoria Beckham Navy Noir palette. Now, you might think that this is beautiful, and it is. But for me, there's not really an inner eye color, which is kind of hard. And I'm not a fan of this blue and how bold this silver is. I wish that it was a little bit more of a blue-based silver. There is some blue in here. But it's very sort of regular silver. There is a little bit of blue. But I struggle. I really like the first 2 colors. This color I struggle with. It's just so primary blue. Now that being said, the formula is fantastic in all of these, and I really like the Victoria Beckham quads. It's just when you start to rank them up against each other, you know, this one comes in lower. And I like blue eyeshadow. But the thing is that with this one, you can't get anything but a really smoky dark look. And that's really true of 4 or 5 of the Victoria Beckham palettes. I don't mind it with some of the color stories, but with blue, sometimes you want something lighter and more ethereal, and you just can't get that from this. But the quality is fantastic. Okay, what do we have next? We have, well, the sister to the one we looked at just a few minutes ago. Again, do I need this? Nope. And it is the Natasha Denona Texture and Tone Dramatic Palette. Now this one's better. I'll give it that, because this one has an entire row of beautiful shimmers. However, is this not Biba? Is this not the bronze palette? Over and over again. If it did not have this beautiful purple shade here, that really is the star of this palette. Everything else in here is either in Biba, or it's in bronze, or I need a gold, or I need a warm. I mean, it's just, again, I think it's made for like a makeup artist or somebody who doesn't have any Natasha Denona palettes. But for me, somebody who has, I think most all of them, at least at the midi size, it's unnecessary. I will say though that this black based purple is really beautiful. But is that worth $80 or whatever the price is for that? No. And so that's why it ranks lower. But again, it's Natasha Denona. The formula is really good. And like I've said over and over, they're just going to stack up. I'm just surprised that with the Natasha Denona midis, normally they're so high up. I think back to Zendo. I think back to Xenon and Yucca. And they're going in this weird monochromatic, and they're pretty much brown. I mean, we had that purple palette last year, which was fine, but the palettes have we did have a peach one this year, but it was all peach. There wasn't a lot of depth. And then these are all browns, bronzes, and golds. Another brown palette. I hope next year we get something fun. Where's Retro Glam? I really loved that. So I'd like to see more in that direction. Okay, now we have a beautiful palette. Very nice, very fall. It's just disappointing because of their past palettes, and it's ABH's Embers. Now this is a gorgeous color story for October and November. Don't get me wrong. Very beautiful. If you take out these 3 shades though, it's a brown palette. The thing about it is, like last year with the Spice palette, it was a brown palette pretty much, but it had so many interesting textures and toppers and metallics in it. This one is all satins and mattes. So it's really hard to get something that has a lot of variety or has a lot of texture. I think this would be beautiful, but I think you have to reach into something else, like one of those glitter pucks like I was talking about, to get that kind of effect that you automatically got with Sugar and Spice last year. But they saved themselves because they came out with another palette towards the end of the year, and it's much higher up on the list. Okay, now we have the first palette from Adept. Adept is killing it. All of their palettes this year have been really, really beautiful. It just comes down to color story because they have mastered their mattes. They're so much better than they used to be. And it's really hard to beat their metallics and multi-chromes and duochromes. The first one I have today, and it's a beautiful palette, is EBE's from Adept. They came out with 4 palettes this year, and then they had a re-promote of Seahorse, which I already have. Repackage. This one is really beautiful, don't get me wrong. It's just the color stories when you start comparing them, and the Adept palettes this year are so good that you have to be kind of nitpicky, but I love this color. I love these 2 greens together. It reminds me a little bit of, was it the Heather Austin palette or whatever that came out early in the Adept years? The shimmers in here are really spectacular. And again, it's just coming down to color story because this it's just beautiful. They have really knocked it out of the park with their repackaging and their reformulations this year. And, it just happens to end up a little bit lower on the list, but it's lovely, and its brothers and sisters will appear higher up. Next, we have the Natasha Denona Mini Eye Sculpt. Another brown palette. However, I love this one because much like there was a Pat McGrath one a few years ago that was all mattes, and I like that one too, but this one's even easier to travel with. This is so great to take like traveling with your metallics, your one and dones, or like your liquids that you want to just create as a real simple look with. This is really fantastic. This is all I needed. To expand this into those other 2 seemed unnecessary. But this is a great travel palette. However, it's all mattes, so it's really not meant to be the only palette you use. It's meant to complement and shape the eye. but I do really like it, and the formula is really good. So that's why this one is where it's at, and that would be number 45. Number 44, our first palette from La Bouteille Louis Vuitton. I love all of the Louis Vuitton eyeshadows. I think they did a really great job. I know it's controversial and people were disappointed about the pricing. I get it. But like I've said many times on this channel, I purchased one of the palettes and then the refills, one of the lipstick and the refills. And so I kind of switched them in and out. But the formula is really nice. It's buildable. It's suspended glitters. It's really refined and elegant. It blends out beautifully. It's not like a Mothership. It's not like a Pat McGrath Labs shade. They're much more subtle and elegant, but I really like them. I have them scattered all throughout my list. It just comes down to color story. And for me, this one is a beautiful palette. However, for my coloration, it struggles to show up. And it is the Waking Dawn palette. Now, I really like this. I like all of the Louis Vuitton palettes. But when you're nitpicking, I really like some of these peachy colors. They're really beautiful. But on my skin tone, they tend to kind of fade back. And this brown does not pull as dark as it is in the pan. So this is one, if you really like peach eyeshadow palettes, I think you'd really like this. And if you're lighter than me, I think you would really, really like this. I mentioned Critical Beauty, and if you don't follow her, you should. But she has this palette, and it looks really beautiful on her. And I've got it to look really beautiful on me. But the other ones are just so much more impactful that that's what keeps this one down a little bit. Okay, what do we have? That was 44. God, I need glasses. That was 44, so now we have 43, which is Burning Desire by YSL. YSL had some beautiful palettes this year. This one is beautiful as well. It's just the color story. I can't get a ton of depth out of this, but this is a really beautiful duochrome. Very reminiscent of like a Pat McGrath, that peach to pink to gold that's very popular with Pat McGrath. And there's a Louis Vuitton quad that has it in it too. It's just, for me, there were so many YSL quads this year that this one got pushed down a little bit further. But it's a beautiful quad nonetheless. And I'm really splitting hairs here because the next quad is also from YSL, and it's another limited edition one. These are meant to be given, I think, as gifts, and that's why they tend to be more monochromatic and they tend to have less pigment. But this is Blooming Lust. Now, this one came out in the spring, and I do like this one better. This was their Valentine's quad. I like this one better because the topper is really interesting. It's got some blue sparkles in it, but I can get a variety of depth with this one. Let me swatch this for you. There is a variety there. So that makes it play slightly higher than the other one. But again, the quality is beautiful. Just, you know, it can be a little bit more when you've got so many, they're going to fight each other. And that's what's happened with YSL. Okay, we've done that one. So now we're down to 41. We're down to number 41, which is the last palette we're going to look at right now. And it is Victoria Beckham again. This is a beautiful palette. I keep saying that. Not Fit for Print really loves this. If you follow her, she really loves this palette. For me, it's just color story, and it is the Bordeaux palette. Now, I really like it. It's really pretty, but it pulls very warm. And again, a little challenging to get anything but a smoky eye. This is the lightest color in the palette, so you do have to go to a different palette to get something for like the inner eye color. But it is really beautiful. It's just incredibly smoky. And it's not even the smokiest of hers. I really hope for next year she varies it and comes out with some that are a little bit lighter or more ethereal, because she can do it. We know she can do it from her pot shadows. She really leaned into smoky this year, and that's a beautiful palette, much like the blue one. It's just, for me, when you start stacking them up against each other, that one comes out lower. So that was 54 to 41. So we got through quite a few there. I wanted to do a look in each of these videos with one of the palettes that I discussed. And so the palette that I chose today is the Navy Noir palette from Victoria Beckham, and I'll put the footage in here. It's a beautiful palette. These are all mostly beautiful palettes. It's very deep and very dramatic, and it's hard to get anything lighter. And like I said, I did struggle with that one blue, although I did use it a little bit today, and it gives a little bit of variety. This is definitely a palette that you want to do probably before you do your base, because it's just so dark and it can get away from you very fast. But the quality is beautiful. So hopefully you enjoyed that, and we will come back soon with palettes 40 to 29. No, 40 to 21. Yeah, 20 palettes. So we're really getting into palettes that I just love and adore. And so I look forward to seeing you in the next part of this series. Bye, everyone.